Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you 10 tips on how to read self-help books in order to get the most out of them. I have to tell one thing in the beginning of the video itself that I'm not a person who reads a lot more non-fiction books compared to fiction books. I'm an avid fiction reader compared to a non-fiction reader, and it's just been a couple of years since I started reading non-fiction books, and I've learned some things specifically in the area of self-help books because that's the type of non-fiction books which I tend to read a lot more. And in these past 2 years, it started out as a rough thing for me in the beginning, but as the days have passed and I have experienced different books and different types of writings when it comes to self-help in general, I've learned some things which I'd like to share to you guys. So if you're a person who's trying to get into self-help books and trying to get the most out of them, please do stick on until the end of the video because I'm sure that all these 10 tips are easy to follow and they'll definitely benefit you a lot. So without any further ado, let's get into the video right away. Tip number 1 is to select your book properly. Okay, this is the only step which you have to consider very crucially because this happens before you start reading the book, and it is very important in order to know what kind of book you're going to select. Okay, when it comes to self-help books in general itself, in any topic there are hundreds of books available across the world, and I'm sure that different people are attracted to different things, and the things said in different books might work out for different people in many different ways. So there's not a hard and fast rule that if you do these things said in a particular book, it'll work out for you. So what I'm trying to say here is that before you just go and start reading a book just because it was recommended by someone, and by someone I'm saying even myself, okay, I have recommended a lot of self-help books in my channel already, and before you pick up any self-help book, take some time, do some research. Okay, I'm not saying research in the term of you should spend hours and just browse the internet the whole night. I'm just saying that take 10 or 15 minutes from your day when you're interested to read a self-help book and just Google it. Okay, when you Google it itself and come across articles, just give it a glance and you'll be able to understand if the content of the book is relevant for you or not. So always take some time, do the research, and then pick up your book. My tip number 2 is to give it some time. Okay, when it comes to any type of self-help book, it's definitely going to be a bit boring when you start reading the book, and only after you give it some time you can judge whether it is for you or not. In an average, a self-help book is 200 to 300 pages in length. What you can try is read the first 50 pages, and even after crossing those 50 pages, if the book doesn't resonate with you in any way, or you are not able to relate any of the issues that you are facing, that you are trying to solve by reading this book, go forward and DNF the book. DNF means do not finish. It's not at all a problem because when you DNF a book, no one's going to come and arrest you. It's definitely not a big deal. So give 50 pages, and then if you're not at all able to get anything out of it, just DNF it. It's not a big deal. My tip number 3 is to take your time and read it slowly. Okay, when it comes to self-help books, speed readers are the people who are going to face a little bit of trouble, because if you're a person who's a speed reader and can read 300, 400, 500 words per minute, it's a great thing. Okay, I'm not at all criticizing that. I'm just saying that when it comes to self-help books, you have to read them slow because they have a lot of things within each and every line, each and every paragraph, and sometimes you'll also have to read in between the lines in order to get the entire gist of the book. So you have to read it slow. If you just rush through the book and try to fly through it, it's definitely not going to help you or anyone else. You will just end up having finished the book but not gotten anything out of it. It's definitely not the right way to read a book, and also it will definitely be a waste of time. So don't do that to yourself. Read it slow. Don't put a timer. It's definitely not necessary to finish a self-help book quickly as soon as you start reading it. If you're a competitive reader, someone like me who tries to push through the limits and just read so fast, please don't do it because it's definitely not necessary. My 4th tip is to reread any portion that you don't get to understand on the first go. Okay, when it comes to reading books like these, it's definitely not going to be easy for you to grasp everything that the book is giving to you in the first read itself. I'm not saying you to finish reading the book and then reread it from top to bottom again. I'm just saying that while you're going through a page, if you're not able to understand something that's being said in a particular paragraph, it's okay to just pause at that paragraph, go back to the top and read it again. Okay, when I was reading Deep Work by Cal Newport, it was definitely difficult to read and understand some of the concepts which the author was trying to convey to me. Okay, I was able to sense that many things that the author said were very granular and it will take some time to understand, but as soon as I understood some of those things and started implementing them, they gave me benefits so big that I didn't even think that I'll get. So definitely, if you're not able to understand something, put a pause, then go back and read it again and again until you get it, because sometimes when it comes to self-help books, there are going to be some technical terms which we don't have knowledge of in our daily lives. So it's definitely necessary to go to the internet, search some things and learn them from there, and then come back and read this. It's definitely going to be a bit of work, but if the book is good, it will definitely be worth the work. My tip number 5 is to read in the morning. Okay, I know that this is going to be difficult for night people. I am personally a morning person and I usually read all my non-fiction stuff in the morning itself because I become tired towards the evening, and I advise that to you also, because while we wake up in the morning, most of us are very energized and we'll be able to do the toughest works of the day in the first 2 or 3 hours, and after that our energy levels will drop and we'll not be able to work as efficiently. So I'll definitely definitely suggest you to try reading in the morning because it will be easier to do, and also you'll be getting what you want to get from the book very easily without that much effort that you have to put into it during the other hours of the day. I know that it is going to be tough for some people who find it difficult to wake up early in the morning, but if you do practice it, or even if you don't wake up early in the morning, if you try to read in the first 2 to 3 hours from the time you wake up itself, it will definitely be much more beneficial compared to the times that you can read during the rest of the day. It has worked wonders for me, okay, trust me. Most of the non-fiction books or self-help books in specific which I've read have all been completed by me in the morning hour and not during any other part of the day, because it's definitely difficult to read self-help books or non-fiction in general during any other parts of the day because of the tiredness that we have after completing all the work. So try to read it in the morning. Tip number 6 is definitely going to sound like a very cliche one, but trust me, it works wonders, and it is take notes and actively read. Okay, it is definitely going to take some time. Again, the time constraint is definitely not a matter when it comes to reading self-help books, because you have to spend the time there, because the small amount of time that you spent learning the things from that book will definitely save you a lot more time in the future. Also, while taking notes, it's very easy to come back to the points that you learned from the book, because definitely any human being is not capable of remembering all the things that they read. Even if it's stories, we'll be able to relate some things to them and remember them as such. But when it comes to non-fiction, it's definitely not possible. Okay, it's just fact and techniques, and not every person is going to be able to remember all the facts and techniques that they learned from reading a book. So take some notes. I'm not telling you to take excessive notes and just read for half an hour and write down for 15 minutes. I'm not at all saying anything like that. Just highlight some stuff which you feel is important. Jot down some points on a sticky note and just place it up somewhere in the book that you feel is relevant to be read after some time. Feel that this is a time consuming process, but trust me, if you spend time on this, you'll definitely save a lot more time in the future. The tip number 7 is to manage something which comes as a result of reading a lot of self-help books, and try to not overwhelm yourself to try everything that you read from a non-fiction book, because any self-help book has different ways that you can include practices in your daily life itself in order to make things better. For example, I'll just give you a simple scenario. Okay, if you're reading a self-help book in order to decrease your anxiety, and it says 10 things that you can do in order to decrease your anxiety, and if you just start thinking of doing all those 10 things in the next couple of days, trust me, it's just going to peak up your anxiety. Okay, it will definitely not bring it down. The sole purpose of the book itself would have been damaged just by your thought. It's definitely not necessary to try everything that the book says. Okay, and also I'm going to quote another example from deep work itself. If you try to do everything that you read simultaneously or in successive days, it will definitely overwhelm you, so don't do that. My tip number 8 is to practice the theory and share if it works. Okay, every time you're reading something in books like these, you want to try them. I'm not asking you to try everything, just as I said before. Just take up 1 or 2 things and try to implement them one at a time. Okay, and if they genuinely work for you, you can definitely share it with others. I'm saying this mainly because after you transfer your skills by teaching it to someone else, I'm sure you will definitely not at all forget that skill no matter what happens. Just think about it. Okay, while you're in school or college, or if you're still studying and you understood some theory or some question very easily, and if your friend asks you to explain it to them, if you explain it to them, I'm sure that you remember that thing very compared to any other thing that you studied, because while you learn something and pass it on, you practice it twice even without your knowledge. And the more people you teach it to, or the more people you transfer it to, the more times you have practiced it. So definitely your skill set when it comes to that particular theory or that particular practice will be much stronger compared to the others, and it will definitely not be forgotten by you. Tip number 9 is to relate the concepts that you're reading with your own life and your experiences. Okay, because it is necessary in order to involve yourself in anything that you're doing if you have to get the whole potential out of it. Okay, if you're not able to relate at all with the book, I'm sure that you will find it boring and you'll just toss it away. So anytime when you're reading, try to relate it with your own life and think of the instances during which you can use these things which you learn from it. And if it seems like you're not going to use it anytime in your life, it's okay, because we don't know what can happen in the future. Anyone can't predict. So it's better to know some things. Don't just put that as a boundary. Also try to explore some stuff, but relativity always makes you much more closer to any concept. My 10th tip is something to sum it all up. Okay, now that you've followed these 9 tips and have gotten a lot out of a single book, you have to keep this single tip in mind, which is to not parallelly read 2 self-help books at any time, especially when both the books are tackling the same topic, because when it comes to books like these, they are definitely going to be contradicting in some way in some time. So it's definitely not necessary or advisable to read 2 self-help books of the same kind, or even 2 self-help books which are different from each other simultaneously, because when concepts contradict each other, they'll also contradict in your thoughts and you might not get the exact results that you're expecting. Also, when you finish reading a self-help book, don't just jump into the next self-help book right away. give it 2 or 3 days to soak in, because while you get out of a book, it definitely takes a little bit of time for the memories of that book to soak into your mind and your brain. So you definitely have to give it some time. Don't just finish a self-help book today and start another one tomorrow itself. Give it a break of 2 to 3 days. Nothing bad is going to happen in that. The time you spent reading one book must not be disturbed by the intervention of a new book. So take some time, give it a break, and then move on for the next book. So yes guys, those are the 10 tips which I wanted to tell for those people who want to read and get a lot out of self-help books, because I have gotten a lot out of them in the past 2 years and I'm very grateful for all the things that I've learned. So I just wanted to share it with you guys. And if you did find this video useful and interesting in some way or the other, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. If you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel, because I publish new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.